everyone. Welcome to my short talk about augmented reality, the sleeping giant. And I will go a bit of a different direction from here than you might have heard with the other talks. And I might cover a lot of things you already heard before, because we will be talking about Pokemon Go. We will be talking about lots of things where I was very curious, and we are trying to find a way and figure out why augmented reality is always treated like the ugly sister of VR. So I was starting with augmented reality a couple of years ago, and I always thought, okay, yeah, this is the next big thing, this is the next big thing. The whole industry told me, no, it is VR which is the next big thing. And the feeling of being the ugly little sister persisted for a couple of years now. Then came along last year Pokemon Go. You all know this huge, tremendous success. It brought over 20 million new mobile gamers into the gaming across US, UK, Germany, and France. It made fantastic figures. I think you all know that, but I repeat some of them. So they had, okay, a daily average playtime of 26 minutes. We had daily downloads of 700,000. Total revenue end of 2016 was $950 million US. Total downloads over 500 million, $2 million US daily revenue. So I was always wondering, and I was flabbergasted, what was the success formula? And I know that everyone in the industry answered with one thing: that was the IP. How could only the IP make such a tremendous success? So I was asking myself, is this the IP? Is it because it's a location-based game, augmented reality game, whatever? So I think we grabbed too short while saying Pokemon Go was such a tremendous success because they had the Pokemon IP. Of course, it factors in tremendously, and they did perfect marketing. However, this could not have been all. Okay, was it the location-based element? Are we gamers now so fit and so keen on doing fitness that we are now willing to walk and willing to move so much? Probably not. So location-based games haven't been successful over a very, very long period, and it was a fact that it wasn't successful because the player investment is so high if you have to walk from here to there, to there, to there. So what Pokemon Go did, which was really fantastic, was they monetized laziness in a very good way. So having lures, having you more sitting down and waiting for the Pokemons to come to you. So they didn't really make you walk more. People walked more, okay. But however, they also made that they monetized the laziness and could generate a lot of money out of this. The next question was, okay, is it the augmented reality part? Now we have an augmented reality game, but is Pokemon Go really an augmented reality game? So the question which arose is, nearly everyone turned the augmented reality mode in Pokemon out. It was very, very heavy on the battery. It was very draining. It didn't give much more value to the player. It was a cool wow effect for 1 or 2 or 3 times to see your Pokemon in your real-world surroundings, but after that, it was much easier to just flip your Pokeball when turning the backside camera out, and you could play much longer. So it didn't add value, it decreased the value of the game in a way. So, in my opinion, we come back to the success story, but I think there is one thing we really have to talk about in our industry, and it's definitions. So is Pokemon an augmented reality game? Is it a location-based game? What is it? What are lots of the games which are coming? So I think we are all limiting ourselves in the ability to see what augmented reality could be, and there the speaker before me is totally right. We are just at the beginning, but we are now limiting ourselves very much in what augmented reality is or should be, because we are all telling augmented reality is opening a camera and having an overlay. This cannot be it. So for me and for us at Thoughtfish, it shouldn't be only opening the camera, having an overlay, but it should be much more. So at Thoughtfish, the games we were building, and which might be or might not, it depends on the definition we want to have, we are also factoring in the whole context of the player into the gameplay experience. With context, I mean that we use time, location, weather, surroundings, moon phases, tides, local historical data, the plane which is going over my head, or the fact that I'm sitting in a train which is 5 minutes late, into the digital experience. So, and is this now augmented reality when combining this, maybe with an overlay, maybe not? Well, initially, augmented reality means that you enhance your current perception of reality. And if we start thinking about enhancement methods of your reality around you, then you start thinking about augmented reality and the possibilities you have in a complete different light. This opens up a big chest of wonders. Why I'm talking to you about this, I mentioned we have this AR or context sensitivity or whatsoever it is built in our games. The first game we did on the technology we built up is called Fightlings. This is a game with a threefold mission. You will be reminded of Pokemon Go. We started before it came even out. You go out in the real world, collect resources. What kind of resources you can find depend on the context. With these resources, you summon creatures. With these creatures, you build your deck and play PvP against other players. So this is the first game we tackled. We are now going in a different direction with that, but that is what the game is about. So, and what we try to establish is certain rules of the player to see the world. So we have 6 different colors in the app. And these are the 6 different factions in the game you can summon. So if you want to have a character of the blue faction, you have to go in the real world to places where you can find blue. So what you do is you can go to rivers, you can go to lakes, but even the second it starts raining, you can find blue everywhere where it's raining. Green, for example, is a place, green is associated with nature, so the creatures you can build with that are all very strong on healing or damage over time or stuff like that. So what you're doing is you go in forests, you go into parks, but even if you're walking the street, which is red in our game, you can find green. And when you look around, you find green because you're standing next to a flower shop. So we started implementing rules in the game where you learned, okay, this I find in bars at night. Creatures of tranquility I can find in my yoga studio. There is stuff I can only find at the witching hour when I'm on a cemetery. And we started to turn the real world into a kind of retention feature. So our players started to see, it was bright sunlight, and they started to see a playground, and they were going to the playground because they knew now they're creatures of scent. Or I went to a pharmacy only because I wanted a creature of healing. So it was very important for us that we started implementing rules how the real world influences the digital world, vice versa. So people started, hey, shit, the game has a bug. Why can't I find blue here? There's no river anywhere. And this person was standing right in front of an ancient water pump, and people started taking the water pump and pumping water just to see, wow, there's really water there. Wow, wow. So, and both ways around. Coming back to Pokemon Go, and I'm not going to answer the question what augmented reality. I mean, in my worldview, augmented reality should be everything which is influencing the real world. May it be that there is the player figure I can see through my camera, or may it be that I have specific kind of data shown to me, or that I perceive the world in a different way. I think we would all greatly benefit from refraining from just thinking from the technical side, but also go a bit further. So one thing I also want to mention, and this also was in the last talk, when you do something with augmented reality or location-based or whatever, so anything influences the real world or the gaming experience with real-world data, you should take care about that you're designing a single-player version first, that you can engage with that properly, and bringing the social aspects in a bit later. So this is one big advantage augmented reality has compared with VR. This is a very social platform. This is very, very, very interactive. We have seen this with Pokemon Go, that it was pretty cool that lots of people came to the same Pokestops and could meet and stuff. But this would have never worked if there hadn't been this big community. And to build up a big community, you need something you can do alone, and this is very, very fun first. Another thing, please bear in mind, players are lazy. Pokemon Go made it that people took 26% more steps than they would have usually done in their life. Nevertheless, players are very lazy, and either design your game in a way that you can do something in every kind of context, everywhere you are, or in an augmented reality space where you don't have to move too much, or be very, very clever. This came never to my mind. Pokemon did this brilliantly, monetize the laziness. And augmented reality features in any way need a very, very solid reason to exist. So what we have seen very often is that the augmented reality part, especially when it comes to overlays, has a wow factor, but the wow factor is cool for 1, 2, 3 times. So if you never have seen an augmentation before, that's cool. 1, 2, 3 times, and after that it gets boring. So working with the camera open is something which is very battery draining, which is very annoying if you want to play a long time, that your phone is always running out of energy. So bear in mind, every feature you do, when you pick the augmented reality space to do something, it needs to add value to your game. So the core gameplay loop, it must be a part of your core gameplay loop. If that is not the case, then yeah, it's a nice eye candy thing, which doesn't really help your game to move forward. Any questions?
So, questions from the audience? So, microphone is coming. Please give your name and fire away.
Yes, I'm Martin from Resolution Games. I wonder, I tried to install the game now, but it says it's not available in your country. Is that because integration with weather services or other kind of data?
No, the case is that the game is currently in soft launch in some very specific countries. So the technology we built is working worldwide. This is something we took great pains in because we didn't want to have something which is only working regional or stuff. Everything we do is working worldwide, but we didn't we are not on a full launch at the moment.
Okay, thank you.
Have you integrated ARKit yet?
No, we haven't. So for the next game, so the first game we did, Fightlings, is primarily dealing with the context sensitivity part. So with compiling all the data and using different contexts, and the game is reacting to that. The next game we're doing has also several features where you need your camera and having overlays and stuff, and you're getting information. But we are going for a different set than the ARKit. We will be working with TensorFlow and different sets of object recognition stuff.
Any other questions from the audience? I have a question about, I really enjoyed the fact that you brought up definitions, the idea of what does AR really mean, and this idea of that a lot of it is based around contextuality and how you incorporate that into your game design. I want to get a sense of how much context is important. Is there a rule of diminishing returns in the game design about how much context you start to bring in? Is it 1 contextual parameter or is it 5? What's your experience so far with this?
That is a very, very tricky question, because there is a lot of trial and error involved, of course, and it's even the point of feedbacking it properly to the player. So you can certainly overdo it. The whole world is completely complex. But there are things people understand pretty easily, so that a church, for example, or a temple should be a special landmark is something people understand pretty quickly, or rivers and lakes and stuff. When it comes to contacts, it's very good if you can draw from human experience. So the fact that when you have sand in front of you, that it turns to mud when it's raining, this is pretty easy to understand, but you can get too complex, and we shouldn't forget that the player is at this stage learning how to handle this kind of games and this kind of view on games. So we are starting, in lots of regards, we are starting pretty simple. We are also indicating everything important on the map, and we're also having our Easter eggs or our secret things. For example, there is a clan of female assassins in our app. You can find them in bars at night, because they are also seducing people. So this is not apparent in the app, and we're trying to figure out how many people find this out without even mentioning this. But it's all integrated in the story. You have to give out hints. You have to help the player along a bit, because he needs to learn a new way of thinking.
Okay. A follow-up question. You mentioned the witching hour as one example of like time being used as a method of context, and you also talked a lot about the social side of the social side. So what I'm thinking about here is that you're doing a soft launch at the moment. Is some of the features you're thinking about in the future something like a more enhanced witching hour, such as, okay, to achieve this, you need sun and night, so therefore you need a player in Europe and a player in the US to do the same thing, or do something at a similar time to achieve some goal together?
Oh, this is a very, very good idea. At the moment, we're starting first getting a player base up.
Yep.
And this won't work if you don't have the right amount of players. So as I mentioned, we want to build it up that the game is in the first step self-sufficient, that you can do stuff alone, but then bringing stuff together, bringing social components in the game. Yeah, this is pretty cool. I like the idea. The next features we are planning on are really stuff like what we really would like to see in our games, and we're working on that, is, for example, catching the flight which is going over your head, and using this Lufthansa flight to Haiti to do something awesome in my game, and using these kind of factors, or also having the opportunity when you are at the train station, that you can use the train, which is really standing there as caravan who is selling you cool stuff. Or even maybe factoring in if it is delayed, that something happens because the train was delayed, and then giving it a positive twist and stuff like that. So we're getting more complicated in the correlations we make. However, starting pretty simple is a very good way to start.
As always. Okay, question over here. I'll take my mic there.
Thank you for that, John Dean, Gov1 Digital. So if we assume Pokemon Go was an anomaly for now, can you talk about monetization and how that might be different in an AR app from, say, mobile?
Yeah. It again depends. Do we do the big division between AR, location-based, etc., etc. So the games we are concerning ourselves with have all this. They have context sensitivity. They have location. They have an augmented reality part, the overlay part. They all have this. And I think, in a way, you have to take in mind that you can If there is location in the game, you can monetize laziness, and you have to give the player the opportunity that he can do something spectacular with an energy mechanic so that he doesn't have to walk, for example. Or if you're working with context sensitivity, so that you need rain and you need sunshine and you need the train being laid or whatsoever, that you use monetization mechanisms to get contexts together which you can reach at the moment, or that you install platforms where you can trade the items you cannot get in your country, but people in the other country can. So there is a lot of stuff there, so that the world gets connected a bit closer, and that it is really cool to go on vacation to get stuff, or that it is pretty nice that a guy in Korea can trade me the stuff I will never ever be able to get in a pretty easy way. So I think that there is a lot of stuff. In some ways, what we're doing are mobile free-to-play games. So in special regards, there is a standard repertoire we can work with, but you have tons of other areas where you can think of clever monetization mechanisms and things you can sell the player because he sees a big value in it.